We have a whole big old roundup of sunscreens to talk about, and one of them really, and I mean really shocked me, and the others, we'll talk about them. Plus, I have a question that I need to ask y'all, but we're gonna get into some reviews first before I ask my question. All right, so our first sunscreen, and this shocked the mess out of me, the Supergoop Unseen Sunscreen Mineral. Now, we know the original for being clear, and it's a fan favorite of many. It's great underneath makeup as a makeup primer. A lot of people can use it year round because it's something where you put this on top of your moisturizer, so you can wear it with your winter moisturizer, your summer moisturizer, your spring, blah, 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 all of that. People are loving the Supergoop Unseen Sunscreen because it's a clear sunscreen, and a little bit overhyped. I ain't even gonna hold you. A little bit overhyped, but people love it, and I cannot deny that. But when they came out with a mineral one, I was like, y'all sure? So Supergoop says that this is non-nano, which means that they did not make the zinc or titanium dioxide particles in it smaller. So, you know, that could be objective, but you know, that's the thing. Also, it has a bit of a weird smell. Now, this is not uncommon with mineral sunscreens. I do find that some of them tend to have like that Elmer's glue paste, factory kind of smell to them. This had that as well. This also was a bit of a thick paste, which again, a lot of mineral sunscreens tend to have that kind of texture to it. However, this glided nicely into the skin. It didn't feel, because sometimes when you have a mineral sunscreen, you really gotta rub it in. And for me at least, sometimes too much of that physical manipulation on the skin can make my skin get a little sensitive, all that extra rubbing, but this glided into the face, made it very easy to apply. The cast was hard to clock. Now, I'm not saying that there was no cast, but I'm just saying it was kind of hard to clock. You might also want to take whatever you're putting on right before your sunscreen into consideration, because sometimes I might say like, oh, I didn't really see a cast, but then you might be like, nah, that cast was cast. Is that sometimes what you put on right before your sunscreen might make the cast more apparent. Certain ingredients, it's hard for me to pinpoint, like be like, oh yeah, watch out for this. But if you find that happening, I would say like if you're putting like a moisturizer or some sort of serum on before your mineral sunscreen, just give it a couple of minutes for it to settle into the skin and then put your mineral sunscreen on. Also, I would apply mineral sunscreens in small layers, thin layers until you get the adequate amount. 2 milligrams of sunscreen per centimeters square of skin, which is about 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon for your face, neck, and your ears. And if in case you were wondering about the body, it's about 1 ounce, which is about a shot glass. But you know, some of us got a little bit more body than others, so you might need more than one of them shot glasses. So the Unseen Sunscreen Mineral has a matte finish. Now, my skin has been a little bit on the drier side. I can't tell right now if it's because it's weather related or if it's age related or if it's like a crazy combination of both. But I did find that this might be better suited for someone with oilier skin, or it might be if you have oily skin but you're kind of dry in the colder months, maybe you just wait till the summertime to use it. And what's crazy is once I had it on, I was like, oh, okay, this doesn't look crazy. And then when I went to go wipe it off, the difference in how it takes down my skin's radiance is very apparent when I try to wipe it off. So anyway, would you try this? Would you not try it? Let me know in the comments. And you know, in case you wanted to try it, it's linked in the description box. And this is where y'all gonna come into play when you tell me, those of you who prefer wearing mineral sunscreens or think that you can only wear, like, why do you wear mineral sunscreen? And I'm not saying that as a kind of like as an attack on you. I'm actually trying to obtain information from you guys because then it'll help me help you. You know what I mean? So it's not an attack. I just want to know why you think that you need to wear mineral sunscreen. Is it something that you heard from a brand, from an influencer, from your dermatologist, from like who is out there telling you that you can only wear mineral sunscreen? Or do you just like, I just prefer mineral sunscreen? Like, let me know in the comments. I would like to have that discussion. Next up, we have the NYX BLURSCREEN Sunscreen SPF 30 Primer. The blurring effect I felt was kind of like slight to not really noticeable. I didn't notice a huge difference in how like my skin looked with like the blurring action, but you know, maybe that might vary depending on lighting and depending on, you know, your skin and whatnot. But to me, I was like, I don't really see no blur here. However, I did really like the formula of this. It felt like although it is called a primer, and typically primers aren't moisturizers, some of them might be moisturizing, but a lot of primers aren't moisturizers. This one had a very lightweight yet moisturizing feel to it. I was able to wear it on its own without needing a moisturizer on underneath. That might not be the case when it's like deep winter. I mean, it's not even winter now, it's spring, but spring don't know it's spring. But when it gets even colder, maybe I might need to wear a moisturizer underneath it, but I felt like this was like a good all-in-one kind of product for me, where it's like the moisturizer, sunscreen, all-in-one. Here's the thing about makeup primer. There are obviously there are makeup primer products and some of them do different things. However, a lot of the skincare that we use can also act as primers, like depending on if you're wearing the right moisturizer. Sometimes some sunscreens can act as a primer, so keep that in mind. I also like the finish. It was more of a satin finish, which I appreciate right now, although I have oily skin. It's doing some kind of weird dry thing right now that could be weather related, could be age related, not quite sure yet. And another thing to note, a sunscreen primer is definitely going to count as sunscreen as long as you're putting on enough. And I think with a product like this, you're gonna wind up putting on enough, because essentially to me, honestly, I feel like this is probably just a moisturizing sunscreen with maybe some ingredients in it to give like that blurring action, and they just put like primer on it because NYX is a makeup company, so maybe they were like, okay, if we put primer on it, it'll sell. That's what I think. I have not looked at the ingredient list, but just based on my usage of the product, I'm like, some SPF moisturizer. But if you put on enough, 2 milligrams per centimeter square of skin, quarter to a half a teaspoon, you know, about 3 finger lengths, these are approximates, for the face, neck, and ears, it'll count as sunscreen. It'll count as the sunscreen, the SPF that's listed on the label. Would you try the NYX BLURSCREEN SPF 30? Let me know in the comments. It'll also be linked in the description. Next up, the Skin Proud Serious Shade SPF 50 sunscreen. So this is a very light, milky texture. It's kind of reminds me of some of the like Korean or Japanese sunscreens where they're like very light but very moisturizing. So I like that about this. I also like that this was something that I could kind of wear on its own. It was moisturizing enough for me to not need a moisturizer on underneath. But when it comes to that, you kind of have to like play around in your skincare routine, because maybe certain times of year you might need a little more, and then certain other times of year, you know, you could wear it on its own. So, and it also really depends on, you know, how your skin is doing at the moment. I also like that this had a satin finish. I've been more into like satin, dewier finishes just for now, because once my skin figures out what it wants to do, if it wants to be dry, if it wants to be oily, and which is probably contingent upon whether the weather wants to be warm or cold, I might, you know, move back to the natural matte. But for now, I am loving a satin or dewy finish, and this definitely has that. Would you try this? Would you not try it? Or have you tried it already? Let me know in the comments, and I will link this in the description as well. All right, so the last couple of sunscreens, you know, good vibes, looking good. We about to bring the mood down a couple notches with this next sunscreen, because god damn. So it is the Sol de Janeiro Rio Radiance SPF 50 Mineral Body Lotion Sunscreen with Niacinamide, right? Long. Now let me tell you something. I personally have a teeny bit of a light beef. No, I wouldn't even say it's a light beef. It's like a medium beef. When mineral sunscreens got the nerve to use the word radiance in the title, I just feel like we might need to square up a little bit. Now, I've said this in many sunscreen videos before, I personally don't wear mineral sunscreens. I just review them for y'all here on this channel, because I'm so passionate about people wearing sunscreens. And, you know, y'all gonna tell me in the comments, you know, why you wear mineral sunscreens if you do. But I do know that there are people who, for maybe they may be allergic to chemical sunscreens, or they just prefer them, you know, whatever your reasoning is, it can be a bit of a challenge to find good ones for darker skin, so that's why I am here. However, this ain't one of them. So upon putting this on my legs, and I can't even fault Sol de Janeiro for this. Actually, I do wonder why they went the mineral route for body sunscreen. They have other sunscreens, which we'll talk about later in the video, but I do wonder why they decided to do mineral body sunscreen, because mineral body sunscreens tend to make it look like you have on like a white leotard. Because once you put on enough to properly protect yourself from the sun, that messes. If it doesn't have a wild white cast, it's definitely taking down your skin's radiance a notch or 2 or 10. And what sucks, because I was so excited to see Sol de Janeiro take on sunscreen products, because, you know, some of their like body moisturizers and their butters and the scrubs and the sprays. Matter of fact, I mean, the day I'm filming this, it was the first day of the the Sephora Spring Savings event, and I bought all of these. I done got the number 40 cent. Oh, I love that. But let me tell you, I don't know who forgot to put me on until today about this number 71. I accidentally stumbled upon this in Sephora because I was like, oh, this is the only one I like from them. But this 71, whew. So I like the brand, and I was excited to see them come out with a mineral sunscreen because I'm like, well, not mineral sunscreen. I was excited to see them come out with body sunscreen until I realized it was mineral, and I was so let down. So first of all, I can see why they thought radiance was a good word to put here, because I do find that some mineral sunscreens, the finish can look a little dull and matte. So it is shiny. I would not say radiant, because, and this might be a cultural thing, because I feel like when black people say radiant, we mean like, the melanin is on glow, is giving bronzy, is glowing. This did not do that. Like at all. Now it is fragranted, which I actually hate the fragrance that it uses, but take anything when it comes to fragrance coming from me specifically with a grain of salt, because there are a lot of things that I do not love the fragrance of, unless like it's that I just showed you, because I'm more of like a gourmand kind of girl. I like a warm gourmand, maybe a little spice in the gourmand, but I'm a gourmand kind of girl. But I did like that it was scented, because mineral sunscreens do tend to have like that glue-like scent. I just wasn't fond of the scent that they used for it. Now, the funny thing is I done this took a damper in the mood of the video, but all of that to say that even despite all of the things I just said about it, this is actually one of the better mineral body sunscreens that I've tried, which says a lot about the other mineral body sunscreens and how terrible they were for this one to be one of the better ones. So, would you try it? Let me know in the comments. I'll link it in the description, because you might want to get it. It's right there in the description box for you to try out. Let's move on. Now, next up, the Sol de Janeiro Rio Radiance SPF 50 body oil. Now, this is what we think of when we hear radiance. Now, this one is also scented with the same scent, which I did not love. Although I love a good body sunscreen oil in the summertime, because I love that like glistening look. And although when you're wearing a body oil, you could, give it a couple of minutes to settle, and then you could use a spray sunscreen on top for your sunscreen. But if the body oil already has sunscreen in it, it's like cutting down some of the steps. However, this one, I felt like it wasn't as shiny as I would want a body sunscreen oil to be. It still looked pretty on the skin. If this was a different scent, this would be a different review. Like if it was that 71 or that 40, I would take the less subtle radiance and the less subtle shininess in the oil. I would let that trade off of the scent that I like. So if you're a fan of this scent, then you probably would like this. I think it's the number 87 fragrance. So if you love that, let me stop making my face up like that because I don't want to yuck anybody's yum. But if you love that fragrance, then maybe you'd love this as well. So I will leave a link in the description if that is you. Would you try it? Have you tried it? Let me know in the comments. Now, as I had just mentioned about having a body sunscreen spray can be very beneficial in your routine, because like if you've got your own body lotion and radiance products that you already love that just don't have sunscreen in them, a body sunscreen spray can come in handy. So Sol de Janeiro has a body spray as well, which we're about to talk about right now. This is their Rio Radiance SPF 50 body spray. It's $36 for 6.7 fluid ounces. All of their sunscreens have that number 87 fragrance to it that I don't love, but I'm telling you, let that 40 or that 71 come out with a sunscreen and does not mineral. Now, one thing to note about sunscreen sprays is that you need to make sure that you use them correctly. You don't want to just go spraying and then, going about your business, because when you do something like that, first of all, you might have a lot of skip areas because you might get a little sunscreen here, but then the rest of it is like over there in the air and then on the floor. And who that doing good for? Because the floor don't need sun protection. So if you do spray it on your body, you do then want to kind of rub it in to make sure you don't have any skip areas. Or what you can do is spray it in your hand and then, massage it into your body, making sure you don't have any skip areas. Make sure you also do it in a well-ventilated room. You don't want to breathe in as you're spraying the particles. Also, probably don't want to do this someplace where it's really windy, because then you really gonna be wasting the product, because then that product gonna be all in the wind. Now, the product itself gives the skin a pretty nice sheen, but unless you really love the fragrance, I don't see why you wouldn't just go to like CVS or Target or Walgreens or someplace and just grab a store brand sunscreen spray, because there's not much, like, to me, there's not really much anything setting this apart from a regular body sunscreen spray other than the fragrance. So the fragrance might be the winning factor here. Would you try this? Let me know in the comments and I'll leave a link in the description. Now, next up, we have we're gonna bring the mood back up here after that mineral sunscreen for the body and kind of took it down a little bit. We actually have the return of one of my favorite sunscreens from a long time ago. Now, I don't really have favorite sunscreens as long as it works and it looks good and I don't have to pay a gazillion dollars for it. I'ma wear it, right? However, back in the day, there was a favorite sunscreen of mine, and this is probably why I stopped having favorite sunscreens, because they broke my heart when they discontinued this sunscreen, but it's back. So it is the Olay Prime and Protect Mattifying Face Lotion SPF 35. It's $19.99 for 1.3 ounces. So when this first came out, I was like, yo, they onto something. I would talk about it. At the time, I had a partnership with Olay and I did some posts on it. But if you was reading my blog and following me on Instagram and whatnot, maybe you bought it too, because I remember people asking me, hey, you know that sunscreen you put me onto? I love that sunscreen. What happened to it? And then we had to find out together that it was discontinued. Now, I do know people at Olay, and they, you know, generally most brands are not going to discontinue something that's a good seller. So we loved it, but I don't think, you know, enough people loved it. But they brought it back. So, you know, I think more people are into sunscreen now. So let's talk about it. Now, this is a very lightweight mattifying lotion. You can wear it on its own, or you can wear it on top of your favorite moisturizer. For me though, it's generally moisturizing enough for me to wear it on its own, because it does mattify the skin, but it doesn't give, like, I don't like when things like completely obliterate like all the oil in your skin and it's just like your skin is now dry. Because when you're oily, you want to control the oil, but you don't want to completely obliterate it, you know what I mean? But in the same token, you're not trying to be like a grease ball by lunchtime. So I do think that this does a really good job of mattifying the skin. However, right now when it's a little cold still here in New York, I'm gonna have to wait to wear it when it gets a little bit warmer out. So this is gonna be a hit during the summer. Would you try it? Would you not try it? Have you tried it? Let me know in the comments and I'll leave it linked in the description. Next up, the sunscreen that I have been wearing lately and I absolutely love, the new Olay Glow and Protect Sunscreen Stick with Vitamin C SPF 50. So this is $19.99 and you are going to get 0.5 ounces. So this is a dewy, not greasy finish. And I worked with Olay on this for a campaign that I did on Instagram and TikTok. I love this because it's so really easy to apply. I could just easily slap it in my purse and reapply throughout the day. So I put my moisturizer on, which lately has been the fresh, what's it called? Fresh black tea. I'll put a picture up here and then I'll link it in the description as well. But the fresh black tea anti-aging something or another. It's in a brown bottle. Oh, I love that moisturizer. So I'll put that on, which in itself gives a little bit of like a satin kind of finish. And then I take the Olay Glow and Protect stick, and I do 4 to 5 big swipes across my face because I want to make sure that I get enough, and then I massage it in to make sure that I don't have any skip areas. Now, I will sometimes put it on my ears and a little bit on my neck. In the summertime though, I will go further down to, you know, have it here so we can have some shine right up here in this area. But because I'm, you know, it's not warm at all right now, as of me filming this, which it's, what's today? April 5th, right? It's still cold. I don't want to put something glowy and then put clothes on top of it because then it's gonna get on my clothes. So I usually just put my regular moisturizer because usually this area is not showing. But if I do have skin, you know, a little bit skin showing, I'll put my body sunscreen on these areas and on my ears and then wear, you know, the dewy glow. Because sometimes you just want the dewy on your face. You don't necessarily want your neck and your ears to be dewy as well too. Well, you know, that's what you're going for. Now, you could, in theory, use this to reapply your sunscreen over your makeup. However, myself personally have not been able to master doing this with any of these type of sunscreen sticks, because perhaps it's the amount of makeup that I wear, the way that I wear my makeup, and the finish that I like my makeup to have. I think that when I apply something like one of these sunscreen sticks over it, it kind of takes away from the look that I want. So if you wear less makeup, like if you're just like a concealer and a little mascara and maybe like some face powder kind of person, then reapplying it over makeup will probably work for you. But if you got on, you know, all the makeup that I got on, and although my makeup does have like a dewy finish, I do find that any stick, it kind of takes, like I feel like I could put it on, but then I'd have to reapply my blush, or you know, maybe reapply some powder or something. Like it becomes too much. So I'd rather just reapply with something like the Supergoop, I'll put a picture here. My brain. But the Supergoop brush, the mineral brush that you can use to apply over makeup, that helps to kind of like retouch the makeup a little bit, because it mattifies it a little bit. I much prefer that than using a stick to reapply over makeup. Now, quick note, you might also be like, how are products like this even hygienic? Because you're just, you know, reapplying it over your makeup. So Glow by Ramon better explains this than I do, because although I am taking a cosmetic science course at Spelman, he actually be in the lab mixing up stuff. So he has, I don't remember if it's on his Instagram or his YouTube, but he does have an explanation. But so when products like this, like these sunscreen sticks, aren't water-based, it is much harder of an environment for, like, you know, nasty stuff to be living in. Obviously, of course, you know, you do want to wipe it down after use, especially if you're reapplying this over makeup, or, you know, just reapplying in general. You might want to, you know, and this is something that can easily be wiped down with a paper towel. I don't want to say that you can probably spray it with alcohol, because I'm not sure. So let me put a push pin on that and ask somebody who actually made the sunscreen if that is possible to do, to maybe sanitize it, or if that's even necessary. So I'll leave a little push pin there. Hopefully I will be able to put an insert here on the screen, or maybe stick in a voiceover, because I do have some time to kind of get that answer between me filming this and the video being published. If you don't see something here or hear anything here, I ain't get the answer yet, and I'll pin it as the comments in this video. Anyway, would you try this? Let me know in the comments, and it'll be linked in the description. All right, now back to some more mineral sunscreens. So we have the Murad Correct and Protect SPF 45 with a PA of 4+. This is $69 for 1 ounce. Now, Murad is one of those brands that I feel like their mineral sunscreens, like they, you know, they really put some care into making them so that they don't look so crazy on, but they are a little on the pricier side, and I don't know, maybe that's probably why. So it's a lightweight fluid. It feels really silky, and it glides onto the skin very easily, which is not always something that you're gonna get with a mineral sunscreen. So this has a matte finish, and the cast, I wouldn't say that there's a cast in the sense of, like, you know, how we've been seeing some white cast on some of these mineral sunscreens, but I will say that it does take down the skin's radiance a little bit. So the skin doesn't look as radiant once you put something like this on. But again, let me know why, those of you who wear mineral sunscreens, let me know why you wear them in the comments, because I would love to know. I need to know. And then while I felt like it was moisturizing enough to wear on its own, I do think that if you have dry skin, that you're probably gonna wanna wear a moisturizer and then apply this. So would you try this? Would you not try it? Let me know in the comments, and I will link this in the description. But wait, there's more. I was actually supposed to post this video like probably 3 weeks ago, but you know, things, you know, kept getting in the way. And in the meantime, the embargo lifted off of this new Glow Recipe sunscreen, which I received, I wanna say, I think sometime in March. Anyway, this is the Glow Recipe Watermelon Dew Balm SPF 45 sunscreen stick with niacinamide. So some of the highlighted ingredients include niacinamide, which we know does a million things for the skin. It helps to strengthen the skin's barrier, making it great for dry skin, also making it great for oily skin. It helps with hyperpigmentation. It's an antioxidant. It does a lot of stuff for the skin. There's also watermelon and hyaluronic acid, which helps with hydration, squalane to moisturize the skin, and of course we have the chemical UV filters, which, you know, there'll be a link to this in the description box so you can see which ones they are. So this definitely has that watermelon smell. It's not too bad though. I wouldn't be mad at this. So this is very similar to the Olay sunscreen stick in that they're both dewy glow sunscreen sticks that have a dewy finish that doesn't feel greasy. If you wanted a little bit of a comparison, to me, I feel like they feel absolutely the same and they look the same. I would say the Glow Recipe one feels slightly more slippery. But I feel like they look absolutely the same. You know? Where they do differ, the Olay is fragrance free while the Glow Recipe is watermelon scented. So you do get like a little more with the Glow Recipe, 0.58 ounces as opposed to 0.5 ounces, but there is a difference in price. So the Olay is $19.99 and this is $30. So me personally, I would go with the Olay because it is fragrance free and it's cheaper. I don't really see or feel a difference between the two, but of course, you know, you let me know which one you would pick, the Olay or the Glow Recipe. Let me know in the comments. Now, remember how I said there are UV filters that are available outside of the US? Because, you know, our FDA is a little bit on a slow bop when it comes to, you know, approving new age filters. People love some of these sunscreens because they feel so cosmetically elegant. They feel amazing on the skin. There are people who could literally keep rubbing them in their eyes and it doesn't sting their eyes. Now, keep in mind, eye sting with sunscreens is subjective. I don't know, not even just me, I don't know. There hasn't really been a reason as to why some people may get eye sting and some people might not. Some people say that the mineral sunscreens don't sting your eyes, but as somebody who has tried a lot of sunscreens, I've had mineral sunscreens sting my eyes. But anyway, up next, learn more about these amazing sunscreens and if you might need to add them to your routine or not. Check it out in this video right here. Click on it and I'll see you there.